Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining me today for this webinar. Email marketing, more than just newsletters. And just to introduce myself, Ricky is my name, and I'm a digital business advisor at Business Station Inc., where we deliver, if you're not aware, the federal government's digital solutions program for small businesses. And if you're interested in finding out more about that, you can visit businessstation.com.au and go to the tab regarding digital solutions. Now, today we're going to talk about email marketing and how you should be using this potentially as one of your digital marketing channels, and how, even though it's been around for a while now, in fact it's the original digital marketing platform dating back to the pre-web era even, but even though it is old, and rather than become old and stale, it's become a very sophisticated marketing tool that, in my opinion, every business should be using in some way, shape or form. And as the name of this webinar sort of implies, it can be used for far more than just sending out newsletters. It can do automated welcome emails to people that subscribe to your list. It can do confirmation emails such as shipping delivery or purchase delivery, purchase confirmation, for example, through to complete marketing funnels. Some of them include CRMs, for example, landing pages, advertising, etc. So there's a lot of things you can do with these marketing platforms nowadays. Excuse me while I just do that. Okay, so let's have a quick look at what we're going to talk about. So I'm going to talk about briefly why you should be doing it and what types of email marketing there are. And then, if you're going to do this, what you need to get started, and we'll touch on that. One of the main things, though, once you've sort of kicked the ball off, you need to then start to build an email list, because that's what it's all about. So we'll talk about how you can do that and how you can personalize your marketing right down to the user and or the product level, and how you can automate a lot of this through marketing automation. It's fairly easy to do nowadays. And we'll briefly touch on some emails that maybe you should set up if you're going to do this, and then what metrics you should look at to sort of measure your performance of your email, and what you need to do to stay compliant within sort of spam regulations and the like. Okay, so that's what we're going to talk about. I'm going to kick off now. If you have any questions, just put it into the chat function if you don't mind. Okay, so this is the original email, actually, that was sent out in 1978. This is not the original email marketing campaign. Now, this was sent by an employee of Digital Equipment Corporation, of which I must admit I am one of those too. I once worked for Digital, a very fantastic, interesting company. Now, this particular salesperson sent it to 400 clients, and it resulted in $13 million worth of sales US. So as you can see, the very first one worked very, very well, and they work even better to some degree today. You have to keep in mind back then, the value of your typical DEC computer, Digital Equipment Corporation computer, would have been probably 1 or 2 or 3 or 5 million, I'm not sure. But anyway, still a good return on their investment. And speaking of that, this is one of the reasons you should be doing email marketing, because according to Forbes magazine and other commentators out there and analysts, it will provide the highest return on your marketing spend. So $42 US back for every dollar spent, according to Forbes magazine. It's also far more effective than some of your other marketing channels that you might be and should be using, even though they may be more effective than, say, for example, social media. In some cases, doesn't mean you should stop using social media, obviously, but according to HubSpot, are more effective than Facebook and Twitter combined by a factor of 40. Some other reasons why you might want to do email marketing is because, as we all know, this is what professionals, on a day-to-day basis use when they're in business. They're checking their email, and that's how they're communicating. It's their preferred communication channel for 86% or the large proportion of them. Also, if they're on your list, if they've subscribed to your email list, they're much more likely to be engaged, share content, potentially recommend your business or solutions to other people. And once they've subscribed, they're expecting to receive an email from you. So it's no good sort of collecting email addresses and then not communicating with those people. So that's, I guess, what the email marketing platforms allow you to do relatively easily. And the other thing about email marketing is that it's owned by you. It's always going to be there. As we know, it's been there since 1978. And even though it might have changed dramatically, it's still relatively the same. And it's something that will be owned by you and will be an asset to your business. In addition to that, though, in my opinion, it's also often case the glue that you need in your lead generation or in your sales process. So from the moment they get to your web page through to the moment they place an order, in some cases, you're going to need to communicate with them. In a lot of cases, particularly if it's not an instant sort of sales funnel, they're going to go off and decide on other things, then it's something that you should be communicating to them through is your email marketing platform. So there are different types of email marketing, and we'll just talk about those briefly. And arguably you'd be using, any combination of these. It could be one of these or multiples of these. So the first one we all know and love, which is the newsletter. So the thing about the newsletter is that it's something that you would send regularly, maybe once a month or something like that. It's a summary of recent content, for example, that you might have posted on social media or on blog posts or on the website, as well as, updates about the business, products, services, announcements, for example. It is a great way to generate leads and traffic, get them to go to your website. You can have calls to action within the newsletter. And it's a good way to maintain relationships after they've become your customer. So when you want to get them back for, repeat purchases or to give you a testimonial or a review, newsletters are a great way to do that. And as well as nurturing leads. So you can use it in multiple ways. So that's the first type. The second type are transactional emails. So these are really, confirmational type emails. So it could be order confirmation, shipping confirmation, like I said. Could also be a thank you email when someone's either ordered something from you, joined your club, whatever it might be, your membership, or just signed up to your list, your email list. It's also a great way to introduce your business. And, we'll talk about that as well. So a thank you email, but also welcome emails, which is what you would send when someone signs up to your email list, for example. So they're transactional type emails. The third would be lead nurturing emails. And, we're really, I guess, talking mostly about these today. And they're often just part of a series of emails. So they're not just a single email, although they could be. Generally speaking, you're going to have a series of emails, 2, maybe 3, and additional ones if you want, depending on what they do. Now, these lead nurturing or automated emails can be triggered based on 3 things. And we'll talk about this in a little bit, which would be either what segment they're in. A segment would be a cut down version of your email list or something they've done on your website, for example, or based on time. And we'll talk a little bit about that in a second. They're also highly targeted, like I said, so they're normally sent to a segment of your audience. And this is where the personalization comes in to play. So a segment could be anything from, male and female versus VIP customers versus, and, lapsed customers, anything like that, certain products they've bought. We'll talk about that shortly. The fourth type of email is really informational type emails. So you've got a new product you want to tell them about, you've got new content that you want to tell people about. you can send them that in just a general sort of informational email. Doesn't mean that there's not going to be links to your website, that sort of thing. Product updates, event emails, for example, or if you've got maybe not necessarily a complex product, but some product where you need to explain how to use it, or you're educating them on the product and features, that sort of thing. Okay, so they're the different types of email marketing, or email types, if you like. So the first thing if you decide, yes, this is something I want to consider, the first thing you need to do is think of an email marketing platform that you might want to use. There's lots of them out there. This is just a list of them here, that I got this graphic of an email provider, of a website, and I think it covers them pretty well. We'll talk about that shortly though. The second thing you need is to start to develop email lists. So, you need to have opt-in forms and that sort of thing, so you can start to collect these email addresses and then maybe break them down into smaller groups. You need to have some clear goals. So here are some of the potential goals that you might have. It might be, for example, to build your email list would be maybe a priority, but also to increase sales, brand awareness, nurture leads, engage customers, customer loyalty, all of these things. And, at some point in your business, you might be doing all of these. They all might be goals of yours, depending on the email marketing campaign. Obviously, you need your domain, your email address as part of your domain. Because if you're promoting your domain, which is your brand online, then your email should reflect that. So, and as we know, when we get a warning on the news about some scam email, the first thing they tell you is to make sure the email address corresponds to the domain that, they're talking about. And so it will, if you don't do this and you're using a Gmail address or a Big Pond address, for example, you'll have lesser results because of it. So first thing you need to do is think of choosing a provider. And there's a couple of things you want to keep in mind before when you're considering different providers. So that you need to be able to, in my opinion, segment an email list. So that's segmentation. And they all allow you to do it. Some do it just through tagging, and others do it in more sophisticated ways. Some have pre-built segmentation, for example, others don't. Automations, so what sort of automations does it allow you to do? Integrations, what we mean by that is, for example, if you have a website and you want to collect email addresses on there and just send those straight to an email list, it would help if that email marketing platform was integrated with that website platform that you're using. So for example, if you're using WordPress, is there a plugin, say, whatever type of email platform you're using that you can use for that? It's not necessary, it just makes it easier. What else? So yeah, just other things like check out their reviews. What sort of forms do they offer? Do they offer landing pages? Do they have good templates that you can use? Do they have an inbuilt CRM that you might need? Not everyone needs one of those. They might already be using one, or somehow have some other system. Does it have analytics that you can check to see how your email marketing campaigns are going? So like I said, there's a lot of platforms out there. Here's just a few of them. And I've just included this because I think it does break each one down, what they're good for example. So for example, MailerLite is a fantastic package if you're looking to get started. You don't want to pay up front until you've got, a decent number of subscribers. MailerLite is perfect for that. It gives you all the features and it's essentially free until you have 1,000 subscribers. Sendinblue is also pretty good. It's not quite as generous, but it has a CRM as part of it, for example, that you might want to consider. Active Campaign and GetResponse are like the Rolls Royces, if you like. They're a little bit more expensive, but they have all the features and make it very easy to use. We'll look at some of those shortly. There's also others I haven't mentioned. For example, there's HubSpot, there's MailChimp. There's a whole lot of different platforms that you might want to think about. Now, I do have this just a list of some of the free plans if you are just getting started and what they offer you before you need to start paying. And it's usually based on the subscribers. Or in this case, Send in Blue, it's based on the number of daily emails you send or monthly emails you send. MailChimp is 2,000 subscribers. MailerLite, it's 1,000 subscribers. Klaviyo, down the bottom, I added that to that list. I like Klaviyo if you're using Shopify, for example, but it has not a very good free plan. But, you know, it has some fantastic features that I guess make up for that. Anyway, there's just some to consider. Once you've done that, and like I said, you don't always need to do this, but for example, in this case, if you know this is a WooCommerce store, I've downloaded the OmniSend plugin. I decided OmniSend was what I was going to use in this particular scenario. I've downloaded that. I've copied that API key from OmniSend. And then what I do is I go to my WordPress site and I can just, sorry about the cutoff screen here, paste that API into the area there for OmniSend. And they're sort of now integrated and synchronized. So it's relatively easy to do from that perspective. If there is a plugin, and WordPress, of course, you can probably have the plugin, but not all platforms do. Once you've done that, if you know, they'll normally come up with something like this, which is just an easy first step. What do you want to do next? You know, start to grow your audience with different forms would probably be the first step, so you can start to collect email addresses. Whoops. Okay, so choosing a provider. There's a few, like I said, I'm just going to show you an example of one. This is MailChimp. And MailChimp is fantastic for, you know, offering a lot of features. You can create, you know, emails, build an audience, run your campaigns, do automations. You can even build landing pages and that sort of thing. Some of these things are part of the free plan and some of them aren't. You just need to double check that. So if I click on create there, you can see you can create emails, different types of emails, and they provide templates for those emails. You'd obviously rebrand them with your colors and fonts and that sort of thing. They have journeys, which are automations, websites, if you like, where you can even sell products, make appointments, landing pages. So for maybe advertising campaigns, for example, where you've optimized a page for that particular product, different content that you might use across different channels, forms, and we'll look at this shortly, that you can use to sign up people on your website. Very easy to do. Excuse my graphic there with the square on the slide. Ads, you can do certain ads from within MailChimp, retargeting and Facebook ads. You can even do some social media posts and send a physical postcard in the mail. So as you can see, these email marketing platforms are very, very sophisticated nowadays. They do, to some degree, if you didn't necessarily need a website, they are an all-in-one sort of marketing platform. And that's what they're positioning themselves as, particularly organizations like GetResponse. This is GetResponse here. I'll just show you that as well. I do like GetResponse, very, very good. You can do the traditional email marketing things like create newsletters and that sort of thing. But if you go to the menu, the create menu, you can see it's not just newsletters, autoresponders, forms, different campaigns, funnel builders, landing pages, and it goes to even more detail on this menu here. So do recommend maybe if you are interested to check these out. But for 1,000 subscribers, you're going to look at, for some of these features, if you want all of these features, you know, about $50 US a month. They do have lower plans, but less features. Very, very good if you're looking to build funnels. And I'll show you that shortly. You can even do paid ads like MailChimp and build websites. They also allow you to add products to this. So you can either integrate your existing store, so WooCommerce or Shopify, for example, or you can add a limited number of products, for example. So very, very sophisticated marketing tool. Just to show you a couple of other ones, this is Send in Blue. I won't show you any detail here, just to show you the price. Now, you know, that's not too bad pricing, $32. That's 10,000 emails a month. You know, once you start to go up from there, 20,000, I know that's big numbers, but it does start to get quite expensive. But that is another option for you. MailChimp also gets a little bit expensive once you get past a certain level. This is MailerLite, the one I was just talking about. So it's a fantastic little package. It's becoming very, very popular. And I think it's because it, you know, for the free plan to get you started, it gives you everything you need. I think it gives you one landing page. If you need to do more, it's $10 an extra per month. Other than that, it would be free. And then if you grow, you can see it doesn't get too excessive. I know it also takes the send off the emails per month if you'd need to send more than 12,000. So as you can see, pretty reasonable. Anyway, so that gives you some idea of the cost of some of these platforms. And you really need to think of it as an investment anyway. It's not a sunk cost. You're going to get some business out of this, you'd hope. Yeah, just go to these sites and have a look around. Like I said, there's also integrations. That's very important. So if you have a Shopify store or a Woocommerce store or something else, you might want to make sure that it's going to integrate with that. So there's BigCommerce, PrestaShop. I'm sure there were some other ones, just having a quick look. Now, CRM, you know, different ones like that. So a lot of these email marketing platforms will, if they don't fully integrate with your platform, you'll be able to copy and embed a little piece of code that they'll provide you, HTML code. So it does make it more simple if it does integrate. Okay, so they're the platforms. Now we want to just talk about how we start to collect email addresses, because that's, you know, once you've got a critical mass, if you like, of email addresses, it starts to become a little profit center, if you like. So it starts to generate its own engagement and level of interest from those on that email list. So the first place is obviously if you have a store or a bricks and mortar place where you're actually doing face-to-face contact with customers, it's relatively easy to ask them right there and then. You could potentially have a form that they could fill out. The second place would be to have a form on your website. So something like this, it's not hidden away, it's bold, people can see it. There's some incentive that's going to, hopefully an incentive to get them to sign up. Ideally, it's just because they like your product, but sometimes, you know, you've got to provide a little bit more than that, especially given all these, you know, all these lists that these people potentially already subscribe to. So you've got to give them a good reason to sign up for any of these. Pop-ups. So there are different types of pop-ups. And you could use this in conjunction with an embedded form, or you could just use it by itself, or just use the embedded form. It really depends. There are different types of pop-ups. So this one here is really welcoming someone, a new visitor to a website, saying, hello, you know, here's a bit of a discount for your first purchase in exchange for an email address, for example. So it's sort of like a win-win to a degree. Exit intent, you know, this is where they're about to leave. You really need to give them a good reason to sign up at this point. So, but it's potentially your last chance to grab that email address. Promotional pop-up. So while they're looking at your products, for example, you could have a pop-up that says, hey, you know, here's a free shipping if you want it, for example. I mean, it could be anything. You might already be offering free shipping, but you can sign up people on certain social pages, depending on the social platform for your email list. You can do it at checkout. So on certain platforms, they allow you to have a subscribe to on the checkout. So that's always good to have that pre-checked. So they have to opt out if you like. Certain email marketing platforms allow you to do things like this, which is where, say you've got a product that sells sells a lot. It's often out of stock. People can go, they can leave their details with you and you send them a back in stock notification. So another win-win. They get to know when the product's back in stock. You most likely make a sale, or ideally make a sale, but you've also got their email address for future marketing. And you can market them around that particular product. For example, you put them into a segment, in this case, Converse shoes, for example. Loyalty and referral programs is a good way to, if you've got some existing customers, they might not be on your email list. It's a good way to sort of get them on that email list by offering some incentive, in this case, a loyalty or referrals. Lead magnets, it depends on your business, whether you can develop or have something that you could offer that's valuable enough for someone to leave their email address in exchange for. It could be an ebook, it could be a sample, could be some club that they're joining, I guess, which is slightly different to a lead magnet, but same thing. Building a list, discounts and deals, another sort of pop-up, which is just basically offering some deal in exchange for their email address, just a promotional offer, 10% off your first order, for example. Okay, so just quickly show you how you would do that, say in an email marketing platform. This is Get Response. So I'm just showing you here, I'm in the form section, and you can either create a form or you can create a survey. In this case, we want to create a form, and they've got these cool little apps, a wizard. You can build your list through the apps that they offer, the templates that they have available, depending on the left, what you want to achieve, and the shape, for example, and then you can then choose the different ones that you would customize to suit your particular brand, of course. So Facebook, download, ebooks, courses, webinars, the list goes on. Products, of course, order a product. So basically you would customize that, and depending on if your site's integrated fully, you would just do that from your website dashboard, or you would just copy that piece of code and embed it on the page in most cases. So you can see there's a whole bunch of things there that you can do in terms of building different forms. So that's Get Response. Just very quickly, I'll show you MailChimp. Pretty similar, maybe just not as flashy. You would just go to Audience and go to Sign Up Forms. And they offer a couple of different types, like a form builder, where you can sort of do that, build a form yourself, subscriber pop-up, contact form, or embedded forms, for example. So either of those. So I just went into embedded forms. So I want a form on the website. So I'm just going to design the one I want. I could choose different ones. You have to have a look around because it's a lot more feature rich than you might originally think when you look at this. So for example, you can change the type that you want. So I could do a condensed type, subscribe email form, and change the title, range of different things, generate the code, and there it gives me a code there I can embed on my website. So relatively easy to do. Can also do other forms like contact forms and other things on these as well. Relatively easy to customize a form, put your own graphics on there, fonts, etc. Okay, so that's the different platforms. Now, just let's talk about what you would then do once you've got email marketing. And I'm sort of talking very general here in terms of an email marketing strategy, but it would be something along the lines of you segment your audience into different user types. You would then send them the right content at the right time. And we'll talk about what I mean by that essentially. And then you follow that up based on what they do. So do they open your email? Did they order a product that you suggested, etc.? So That's a very simple email marketing strategy. Now, we do want to segment that email list because that will allow you to do much more personalized email marketing. And it's important because if you look at these stats, this will show you the benefits of segmentation. So, for example, if you segment your audience, you're going to get 39%, based on this particular study, increased open rates of your emails, 34% greater email relevance to your audience, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So the benefits that are there, and they will pay off in terms of a return, a higher return for you. So you can segment your audience based on a range of different parameters. So for example, that's going to depend on your goals or your products and services. So it could range from, say, a basic abandoned cart through to, you know, where they are in their sales journey with you. So do they know anything about you, or are they an existing customer, for example? So that's really depends, and you'll send different types of content at different times to those people. So just like I said there, it's much more easy to target people in a personalized way. And these are some of the ways you might sort of segment based on their geography, their life cycle in there with you as a customer or a client or a lead. And that's going to be those stages there, whether they're, you know, it's the awareness stage where they're looking for information about a solution to their problem, whether they're considering you as part of, you know, 1 or 5 or whatever different solutions. And when they've decided on 1 or 2, are you going to be the one they decide on? That's that decision stage. It could also be based on the industry they're in or how they've engaged with your brand. So do they ignore you? Are they super engaged? Do they buy a lot of products? They buy nothing, etc. Language could be another one, job title, etc. So I'm just going to show you how you would maybe do this as well. So this is Klaviyo, and I'm just in the list section here, and it's already got some segments in there. So potential purchasers, repeat buyers. I'm just going to create a new one. I'll just show you how you do that. So I'm going to go into a segment here, and I'm just going to add do a test one for now. So I'm going to call it test. And I could choose some tags that certain clients might be tagged with, or I'm just going to choose one of these parameters here. So what someone has or hasn't done, properties about them, where they are location-wise, what list they're on, range of different things. In this case, I'm just going to choose what they have or haven't done. So that could relate to their email, in this case, Klaviyo, or a form they filled out or haven't filled out, for example, or something they've done on the store itself. This is Shopify. So it could be, for example, in this case, I'm going to choose ordered product. So whoever orders a particular product will be added to this segment. But I want it to be maybe something more than just once, ordered it more than once. So I'm going to say once they've ordered this product 3 times at least, they're going to be added to this segment. So, you know, remember, I'm just making this up, but it could be something like a VIP, you know, or a regular purchases segment, for example. In this case, I can choose some parameters here, like, for example, what the product ID is. So a specific product, if they purchase that more than 3 times, they go into this particular segment. So you can then do specific marketing to them based on that sort of area of interest of theirs. And you can keep adding to that. I'm not going to continue because I sort of just do the same thing again there. But segmentation is very easy to do. And once you've then segmented your audience, you can combine this with marketing automation or automations, depending on the platform, they'll call it different things, flows or journeys, that sort of thing. So, but they're all the same. And like I said earlier, these automations will be triggered because they're automated, of course. So they have to be triggered by something, and it will be based on one of 3 triggers. So it will either be, you know, what someone's done, for example, or hasn't done, like we just used that as an example. So in this case, it's based on them abandoning the cart. So we automatically send them an email and maybe a text as well, if you want to do that, and your platform supports that. And you could follow that up with a subsequent email a couple of days later if they haven't gone back and purchased that, for example. So that's one sort of automation. And the most simple one, I guess. The other one would be based on the segment that they're in. So once they're in a segment, you could then automatically send them an email, for example, to talk about products in that segment or whatever if they've become a VIP customer, maybe some benefit to them or whatever it might be. And the third would be based on a date-based trigger. So it could just be someone's birthday or an anniversary, but if you sell products that require refills or restocking, for example, it could be based on that, where you automatically, after a certain period, send them an automatic email that might send them to product refill type ordering page, and it all happens automatically, and you just get notified by that. You do need to set these up, of course, but once they're set up, they're all automated. Okay, so just want to show you this briefly, how you might do that. So this is Klaviyo. Klaviyo call them flows. So I'm just going to show you how you would maybe set up some flows. There are a bunch already there, but I'm just going to show you one from scratch. So probably the best way to do this would be to use one of their existing ideas. So you can browse their ideas. They've got some there depending on your goal. So do you want to nurture prospects or, sell products, for example, upsell, cross-sell, and you can have different types of emails. But just as an example, it could be, in this case, right there, full shipping confirmation, abandoned cart reminder, back in stock flow, customer win back, for example, and you would just click on those and they would give you the step-by-step process you need to follow and to customize that for your needs. I choose browse abandonment here, which is probably the trickiest one and quite tricky to do. But this is where someone's on your list already and they're viewing a product, but they're not buying. So you could send them an email to say, hey, I saw you were looking at that product. Here's a 5% discount, or did you know other people bought this, or whatever the case may be. You might find that a little bit creepy. I'm not sure. Or, it's really up to you, but you can do that. But they do need to be on your list. So they've given you permission to send them emails. So relatively straightforward to do. If you're using MailChimp, for example, one of the free plans, they also have a lot of automations. These ones are some of the basic ones here. You might want to just check that these are all included on the plan you decide to go with if you do. But like a welcome message, educating subscribers, if they've purchased a specific product, you could automate a workflow based on that. Best customers, all those sorts of things. So quite comprehensive. Okay, so we talked about the platform and a few other things, automation, segmentation. I might just briefly touch on some emails, examples that you might want to consider setting up, implementing on your own website, for example, with your own platform. So the first might be an email marketing funnel, a simple email marketing funnel. The second might be a welcome email automation. And then you might consider some sort of retargeting email. So, for example, an abandoned cart email, which if you have an e-commerce business, highly recommend that. A win-back email for lost customers, for example, lapsed customers, retargeting on Facebook potentially. So this is a simple email marketing funnel, essentially, which is what I talked about at the first email. And this really depends on what you want to do here, but this is how it would work. So they would visit your landing page. So they would have found you either through a search engine, maybe through a blog post or your web page, or it could be through advertising or social posts, but it brings you to a landing page. Once they're at the landing page, You want them to ideally maybe sign up onto your email list so that you've at least got their email address to continue marketing to them with, and you might offer them an incentive to do that. They then receive a welcome email for signing up, and you send them that first email which explains who you are and what you do. You then might send them additional products about your particular products and services, your social media channels and that sort of thing. Well, essentially, they're going to have call to actions, and that'll bring them back to your website to ideally purchase that product. So that's a very simple sort of email marketing funnel, but it could also look like this. So, very simply, they come to a landing page. In this case, it's referred to as a squeeze page. They sign up to a form, an opt-in list for whatever reason, and all of those people that sign up to that form receive a series of automated emails. So as this one talks about, first one, a little bit of content, second content, the third one might be some sort of offer, etc., etc. So that's a simple email marketing funnel. The ones that don't opt in, so they've left your website. How do you target them? Well, ideally, you're going to get them back through them finding you on search engines, or you might want to retarget them on Facebook if you have a pixel installed, or Google if you've got retargeting set up. So email marketing funnels, essentially, they comprise a couple of different things, components. There's the landing page they come to that has the sign up form on there, the form that they're going to sign up to the email list, for example. You then send follow-up emails based on that. They land on a sales page when you're trying to sell that product, potentially. There's an order form, abandoned cart email, confirmation page, confirmation email. So some of this you're going to do potentially on your own website, such as, say, the landing pages and the order forms, for example. And, everything else, though, and the sign-up page, sales page, everything else other than that will be part of your email marketing. So let's just have a look at that. If you think of a marketing funnel, and you think of that top of so you've brought them into the top of the funnel, they've landed on your website. What do you need to do from an email marketing perspective? Well, you need sign-up forms. You need pop-ups so you can grab their email addresses, and the landing page, of course, that they're landing on. So that's the first stage. The second stage is when they're considering you as part of a cut-down list of potential solutions. They're going to want to know if you're a good fit for their particular problem. So you need to identify your solution, give comparisons, give some educational content in terms of maybe a white paper or an ebook, maybe a webinar. You could even have one-on-one consultations here, testimonials, for example. So all of these things, not all of them, but some of them, you're going to communicate to them via email. Conversion, this is really important that you get your subject line, the headline, and the calls to action, confirmed and working before you sort of send this. So, what's the incentive that you're going to give them to sign up? Is it a trial, or is it a discount, for example, or some urgency, for example? So just to show you how you could use email marketing at every stage of your email marketing funnel. So this is where they are your customer. You want to keep them customers, and you want to keep them loyal. So regular newsletters, VIP group, customer group, for example, Facebook group, loyalty programs, and the same. This is where you really want them to advocate for you. So testimonials, reviews, etc. So there's a lot of scope to use email marketing at each of these stages here. Yeah, there's a link there. If you want to go to that, that's MailerLite, right down the bottom there. MailerLite on their blog post. If you just look for email marketing funnels, it talks a little bit about that there. But if you have something like GetResponse, they go to a whole new level where they sort of have them pre-built for you. So you can go to conversion funnels. And then they'll give you an option on what type of funnel you want to build. So is it to grow your lists, for example, or to sell something online, or to just build brand awareness? So depending on your goal. So if it's build a list, they give you a lead magnet funnel or a standard opt-in type funnel. If you want to sell a product, they'll give you some alternative views. Just get to that now. A full sales funnel or just a quick sales funnel. And then they have a webinar funnel for a paid or free webinar. So they're fairly sophisticated. Really, they're already ready to go. You just need to add your details. I'm just going to go to one of these in a second, just to show you very, very quickly. And there you can go. There you can see it's a test funnel. It says, okay, start by collecting emails, create a sign-up page. So these will also set up landing pages if you want. You don't necessarily have to use one of their landing pages. Have a range of pre-built templates, and it will just go through that funnel and develop the emails for you, the automations, and just makes it fairly easy to. So depending on what sort of product you're selling, is it a webinar or a physical product or a service or an online course? So yes, I won't go too much more into that detail there. So that's email marketing funnels. I would recommend if you go to some of these and have a look around and just get a feel for it yourself. Now, so that's email marketing funnels. There are some other things you might want to do. So a welcome email is really important in my opinion. A welcome email is really a sequence of emails. It's not just one. Ideally, it could just be one, but it's a great way to engage with your audience from day one. So it's a great way for you to introduce your products, maybe your social channels, promotions that you have, and it's very easy to automate. So this would be an example of a welcome email. Someone subscribes to your newsletter or your opt-in form. You send them a thank you for signing up for email straight away, maybe a bit about who you are and what you do. Then you might wait a couple of days or a few days, send them an email about your social media and getting them to follow you on social media. Then you might wait a few days and maybe introduce some of your products and services, for example. So, and then you could follow up based on what they do or don't do, for example. So it's a great way to instantly engage with people that sign up to your email list. So just very, very quickly here, I'll just show you. So just as an example, this is MailChimp. If I go to customer journeys and I click start creating, you'll see the very first one that comes up is actually the welcome email. So it's one of the most common emails that people develop. So we can just have a look in a second. Sorry, I'm a bit slow. This is recorded. So you can see welcome new contacts and you can develop that. It's actually quite a sophisticated one, that one. So yeah, have a look at some of the automations that you might want to set up, but I think that this is a must. So if someone signs up, they get an email, delayed a couple of days, they get another one, etc. And then depending on what they do, you could then have some other automations set, depending on their engagement or otherwise with you. So that's the welcome email. The second one you might want to do is an abandoned cart email. Now, the reason why you might want to do this is because this is assuming you have a checkout page and e-commerce functionality. The reason why you want to do this is because on average across the e-commerce industry, abandoned cart is 7 out of 10, 6 to 7 out of 10 people. So it's a big issue, and this isn't going to stop that. It's just going to maybe minimize or reduce that, I guess. So this will just automatically send out an email that you'll customize. It's a terrible example here, but we'll say, hey, you've left this in your cart. And by the way, other people, here are some reviews from other people, and they also bought this as well, for example, or you might also like this. So a good way to potentially scrape some of those sales back. Customer win back, maybe someone that's not fully engaged. Once again, I don't necessarily like the example I give here, but I receive these quite often because I'm on lots of email lists, not always fully engaged. So they're basically saying, do you want us to take you off the list? And it's just a way to re-engage people, even if it's just for a short time, but it might be short enough to get them to order something or re-spark their interest. You can also retarget on Facebook. So any email list that you have, it might be a segment that may be VIP customers, or it could be a list that you don't have permission to send them emails to. Potentially, it depends how you got those emails, I guess. But for example, you could then turn that into or import that into Facebook and build a custom audience based on that. It could be also, for example, your lapsed customers or anything like that, and build a custom audience that you can target on Facebook. So it's relatively easy to do that. You could also build lookalike audiences that way too. So maybe your top customers, you could build an audience by importing them into lookalike audiences, for example. And once again, if you've got a very simple, if you're integrated very easily between the two, you've got your Facebook integrated with your email marketing platform. As an example, if it's Facebook, you can just create a custom list and connect the list to Facebook custom audiences relatively easily. Now, I do recommend, try to use templates wherever possible. If you're not, good at doing your own creatives, these are all, pretty well designed by graphic designers, web designers. Some provide better ones than others, but even these blank wireframe ones are very good, remembering that, you're going to add your own products, photos, fonts, or whatever it might be to these. So in most cases, it's going to be sufficient to do what you want to do. But they do also have some other non-wireframe templates, if you like. You can see it's very easy to just drag and drop something onto that page. It might be a group of images. It could be some product images or your social follows, for example, etc. So really easy to do. Likewise, this is just showing you an alternate view. So this is Klaviyo. So the different types of forms, whatever type of form you're looking to create, multi-step might include text message as well, for example. Quite sophisticated. And just showing you GetResponse here. Once again, a range of really good templates, depending on, what you're trying to do, the pre-designed templates, and you can sort of filter those by category and choose one that's sort of ideal for what you're trying to do. So you can see the categories, depending on whether you're trying to sell something, welcome someone to your email list, etc. Okay, so just some metrics you want to keep in mind. So, you want to keep an eye on these. Most platforms, if not all of them, will provide these as reporting metrics. So you've got a good understanding of how successful or otherwise your campaigns are. So the first one is your delivery rate. So these are industry averages I'm showing you here. And probably the four key metrics, not the only ones, but the four ones. So delivery rate, open rate, click rate, conversion rate. How many are getting into inboxes? How many then are being opened? How many of those are then being clicked on to a link that you've provided, for example, or a call to action, and then how many of them actually convert? So as you can see, the high 90s for delivery rate, you don't want to be ending up in a lot of junk boxes or just not getting delivered, old email addresses, that sort of thing. Open rate, So this indicates interest in your brand. It should be in the low 30s at least. Click rate. So this indicates interest in the content. So that should be around 5%, for example. And then your conversion rate should be between 2 and 5%. So all of these are available through the different platforms. This is just a bit of a, if you go to HubSpot, they provide this guide about all the different KPIs and metrics that you might want to keep an eye on. I do find HubSpot are a wealth of information if you want to go there and get some, some educational type content, but they also have excellent products too. Some of them are free. It's just once they aren't free, they're very, very expensive, but probably the best in the industry, to be perfectly honest. Okay, so that's just some information. Regulations you need to keep in mind, of course, is spam and GDPR, which originally was European, but now is really becoming a global standard. And they're both about privacy and, minimal collection of information, for example, having permission to email them, all these sorts of things. So it is very important to, on your collection forms, to obviously ask their permission to subscribe and collect only the minimal information, which in most cases would be their first name, maybe their last name, but first name and email address. You need to clearly have unsubscribed marked on your emails, but also you're meant to have your physical address on there as well. That's one of the regulations that most people aren't aware of. You should also, like I said before, make sure you're using your own domain name as your email send address. Don't buy email marketing lists because, firstly, you don't have their permission to send them emails. And secondly, you don't know where they've come from. You're probably going to have very, very, very low conversion rates. So it would be a waste of time anyway, besides the fact that it could end up getting you blacklisted if you're reported as spam or whatever else might be the case. So best not to do that. And that is it for me today. Thank you very much. I hope you got something out of that session on email marketing. Happy for you to, if you like, download or take that link that's on that page there. Sorry, I should have copied that and I could have put it in chat. But if you go to that link, there'll be some resources on some of these things I spoke about today. And there's also my email address there if you want to email me later and ask me any questions. Happy to do that. Other than that, I do, if you're not on the digital solutions program, I do recommend maybe inquiring at businessstation.com.au and seeing if that's a fit for you. Otherwise, I hope you've got that link. And I hope you got some value out of today. Thank you very much for attending, and I'll catch up with you soon. Thanks, everyone. Bye. I'm just going to stop sharing now. Thank you.